Hi everybody, welcome to engVid.com. I'm Adam. In today's video, I want to talk to you about a specific aspect of English writing. Okay? And this is something that I think gives people a lot of trouble because it's very nuanced differences between words. And more specifically, I'm talking about modal verbs. Must, have to, need to, should, could, would, will. All of these modal verbs have very specific uses, and especially in writing, using the wrong word creates the wrong impression for the reader. In spoken English, you can more or less get the idea you want across, and people won't pay as much attention to the choice of modal words. In writing, because there's no facial gestures, there's no body gestures, a reader has only the words in front of him. And so the choice of words can make a very big difference. And I'm going to show you specifically what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making an assertion, providing an opinion or a suggestion, and stating a fact. Each of these ways of writing aims to achieve a different goal. So when you make an assertion or an opinion, what you're doing is you're giving something that may or may not be true. Especially opinion. An opinion is just an opinion. There's no such thing as an undoubted opinion, for example. That's what makes an opinion an opinion. You can have one, I can have one, they could be different. One of us is right, one of us is wrong, but there's not enough evidence to prove either one of us right, which is why it's an opinion. An assertion is a forceful expression of an idea. Now, it could be true, or it could not be true. A lot of people try to express something as a fact simply by saying it strongly. Saying it strongly does not make it a fact. It might make you seem more confident. It might make the reader more likely to believe you or to at least engage in a conversation with you, but it doesn't mean it's true. Okay? And that's the most important difference. Anything that's a fact is a fact. It can't be argued against. That's what makes a fact a fact. So when we make assertions, we commonly use these modal verbs. When we provide opinion, we would say should or ought to. And when we offer suggestions, we could say could. And when we talk about possibilities or suggestions or advice, we can use might. Now, when you're talking about assertions and opinions, this is where a lot of people get confused. Make sure you're using the word would, not the word will. Will is a fact. Would is a hypothetical. It's possible, but there's no reason to believe that it's 100% fact now. Now, before I continue, I just want to let you know that will and would are often mixed up, and especially in writing. So I did create another video specifically talking about will versus would. And if you want a bit of review, you can go watch that video after. There's a link here for you to do that. Next, let's talk about facts. So facts, we use the be verb or an active verb. And if we're going to use a modal verb, we're going to use the modal will. Now, obviously, this is going to be much easier with an example. So let's look at an example. I'm going to start one sentence and then I'm going to finish the sentence 4 different ways. To combat childhood obesity, so children are getting fatter these days, schools, now I'm going to continue. Schools must prohibit the sale of sugary drinks. They must do this. I'm making a very strong sentence. They must do it. Now, if I say that a school must do this, does that mean that the schools are doing it now? No. Must automatically suggest, and as must, should, and could, all of these modals suggest a future. Because right now, it is not a fact. And if it's not a fact now, it can only be a fact in the future. If you're talking about the past, then you're only talking about facts, and then you're going to use a past tense verb of whatever the verb is. So, schools must prohibit the sales of sugary drinks. I'm making a very strong statement. Right now they're not, but they must do this. Or, to combat childhood obesity, schools should prohibit the sale of sugary drinks. This is my suggestion. I think that this is a very good idea that schools should do. Obviously, now they're not doing it. They should do it because this will help fight obesity. To combat childhood obesity, schools could prohibit the sales of sugary drinks. This is just one possibility, one suggestion of what they could do. They could do other things too. So I'm still stating an opinion. I'm more like a suggestion, a possibility of what they could do. Or schools might want to prohibit. Again, another suggestion. Okay, so now to combat childhood obesity, schools prohibit the sale of sugary drinks in their cafeterias, for example. So right away, you should notice a noticeable difference, right? Here, I'm stating a fact. Right now, schools do this because they're trying to combat obesity. I could also say schools have prohibited, or many schools are prohibiting as we speak, etc. But basically, I'm stating a fact. There is no suggestion. There's no potential of something to do. There's no forceful thing that they should do in the future. Right now, this is what is happening. Okay? And I can say the sentence in another way with using a be verb, but it doesn't really matter. Especially simple present gives an idea of, simple present generally gives the idea of fact, but any present tense verb will work as well. Present perfect or continuous as well. So this is one example. Let me give you a few more just to get the idea a little bit clearer. Okay, so now I've written here a short little paragraph, and I want you to notice the underlined verbs and try to understand, is it making an assertion, offering a suggestion or opinion, or is it stating a fact? So some employers prefer to give their staff extra holidays instead of a raise. I forgot to prefer to give their staff extra holidays instead of raises. So this is a fact. I'm just stating somebody's preference, and I can clearly point it out. I can go to other companies and show you that they give more raises. So nothing to argue here. Simple present verb, no problem. Action verb. This approach would not work in our company. Okay? Now, the reason this is a unreal assertion is because would not work, well, I don't know. We haven't actually tried it. It would not work if we tried it, but we haven't. So it's a hypothetical situation. Again, that video between would and will explain that. So it's not a fact in our company because most of our employees cannot afford to travel. So this is actually a fact. Now notice I'm using cannot and not could. Cannot afford, I'm looking at the whole thing as a present action verb with a modifier, not as a modal verb of hypothetical, imaginary situation. We should raise their monthly incomes. This is something we should do, which means we haven't done yet. So it's an opinion. As this would be more practical. So would be, again, if we did it. So this is more of an assertion because it's not a fact. But we must also consider, now again, is this a fact? No, it's more of an opinion. We must do this. We obviously haven't yet. But if you ask the bosses of the company, maybe I don't want to consider it, right? So you have to be very careful with must. Must is always an assertion, but you have to ask, can I prove it? Or is it just a very strong opinion? In this case, it's a very strong opinion. That sounds like a fact. That's the thing about assertions. If somebody says something strongly enough, a listener or a reader might think it's a fact. Be very, very careful about facts and assertions. Must also consider staff burnout. Now, burnout is a condition where you overwork somebody and their brain starts, smoke comes out of their ear, right? It's technically fatigue, very, very tired from doing your work over and over and over again. It could be from just too many hours and physically just too tired. It could also be from extreme boredom. If you're doing the same job day after day after day after day, even if it's not a hard job, the sheer repetition and boredom might make you a little bit crazy. And we call this condition burnout. So staff burnout, which is a common issue in this industry. Again, I'm stating a fact. because there have been reports, there has been research, and you can go to other companies and see the high turnover of staff. So that's a fact. So again, this is just a very small and minor example. As you're doing your reading, especially those of you who are doing the IELTS and TOEFL or preparing for the IELTS and TOEFL, this is one of the things that you need to understand for the writing section, for the essay. It's also very important to understand how modals work for the reading section, because sometimes what they will test is your ability to understand the difference between an opinion and a fact. And they'll give you an opinion, or they'll give you a fact in the reading passage, and then the question, they will paraphrase, but they'll write it as an assertion, but not a factual assertion. So you have to make sure you understand if things are working together. Consider the yes, no, or true, false, not given questions. It's all about paraphrasing and how a sentence is structured. So it's very important to understand the intention of the writer. Okay? So if you have any questions about any of this, please go to engVid.com. You can ask me in the comment section. I will also put up a quiz there. There is actually a quiz there that you can test your understanding of assertions, opinions, and facts. If you want some more tips on writing, especially for the IELTS and TOEFL, please visit my other YouTube channel, Write2Top, or write2top.com. That's where I deal with a lot of this more advanced writing tips. And that's it. I hope you liked the video. Please give me a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the little bell there so you get notifications of future videos. And come back soon. I'll have more useful writing tips for you and grammar tips and all that. See you again soon. Bye-bye.